Okay. Hi everyone. Welcome to the revived About Nothing podcast. I really apologize. Like there's a lot of flies. It's from the neighborhood and what. Anyways, hi everyone. Welcome to About Nothing podcast. I am Nelson Kwaje. This is a podcast about nothing. We are featuring South Sudanese voices, and we just want to hear what they are about. Yeah, I'm here with Yitjouk.
Thank you, Nelson.
I think you need voice a bit.
Yes, thank you, Nelson, for hosting me and to talk just about nothing. Yes, I'm Yitjouk Agwet.
Yes, you're Yitjouk Agwet. I think, someone who's close to me told me I need to have a bit of a structure around this podcast.
Okay.
You are, how do you describe yourself?
I will describe myself as just a hard worker. Actually.
Hard worker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because you are a writer, you are a social critic, you are a translator, an interpreter, actually a professional translator.
Yeah.
I think a linguist to some extent. And you're also a teacher. I think you taught in Sudan.
I taught in Sudan. I was staying in the university in Sudan. I used to teach African literature. And then after moving here, I don't teach anymore, but sometimes I just provide Arabic lessons for those who are interested in learning Arabic.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes.
And you wrote in Sudan. You wrote in Sudanese newspapers?
Yes, I started working for newspapers, writing for newspapers in Sudan in 2017. I worked for a Sudan newspaper. My role there was writing mostly literary critics articles in Arabic. What they do normally is that they will just give me just any novel. I will just nominate any novel. I read it and then write a critique over it. So the writers and readers as well can get the points and the weakness of those literary works.
Yeah.
And also I provided some literary translation for those newspapers. I used to translate short stories from English to Arabic with focus on African literature and South Sudanese works as well.
And I think people really don't get like the magnitude of it. You are like big. Sudanese know about you. A lot of people know about you. You are like bona fide, kind of like you are like a big writer and a social critic, and people know you a lot in Sudan.
I think this is one of the disadvantages of returning back home. You will have to rebrand yourself again and so on. Back in Khartoum, I will just you're just passing by. People will know that Yitjouk is passing.
Because
around and so on, because I was well known there. But it's not the same here, and I think it has something to do with even the culture of reading newspapers and so on. It's not like in Sudan, in South Sudan here. It's not like
it's not there, yeah. And tell me, you grew up in Sudan. You're I don't know if this matters, but you're from Upper Nile. You're a Shilluk. Because I'm saying this not to describe your tribe, because that features in some of your lens on how you see things at times, and it features that in your writing also. Where were you born and where did you grow up?
I was born in Khartoum, in Kalakla, in 1988.
It's a long time ago.
A long time.
Yeah.
And then I grew up in Haj Yusuf, suburb of Khartoum, one of the outskirts. I studied in Kamboni schools. They were, the only schools that can be afforded by Junubin back then, because most of them were for free. Sometimes you just pay, a considerable fees.
I grew up in Khartoum. There are Kamboni schools.
I roomed Sudan actually. I started secondary school in Jazeera Estate. Sheikh Lutfi Secondary School, a hostel school.
Yeah.
And then I returned to Khartoum again for Sudan secondary certificate.
Sheikh Lutfi is really known for raising a lot of cadres from the. I remember talking to Jonah Ketch. He studied in. I studied in Sheikh Lutfi, and also Ajongo, who is the ambassador Ajongo, who is right now the South Sudanese ambassador.
Yes. Actually, I was told that Sheikh Lutfi was meant just to keep Rumbek Secondary School going. It was during the war, Rumbek Secondary School had to shut down as a result of the insecurities. Yeah. So they moved just the same experience to
and it's a school that produced a lot of cadres from there.
Yes, a lot of cadres and a lot of.
It was a tough school, right? It was a tough school. It's one of the boarding schools. You stay there.
Yes, I stayed there just for 1 year. Actually, I just started my first secondary there. Then I returned back to Khartoum.
Yeah.
You know, studying in a hostel for 14-year-old is quite difficult for me. It's quite difficult.
And you then you ended up like in university. What did you study?
Actually, I studied university twice. First, I studied business administration in Sudan University of Science and Technology from 2005 and 2009. Actually, I studied it for my mom. Yes. Most of mothers would just want their sons to study business administration, accounting, and so on, so they can work in banks and so on. You know? By time when I was just nearing the graduation, I just realized that it wasn't my thing. So, nevertheless, I completed it. I graduated, and then I studied English language literature again, with focus on translation and literary criticism.
And that is in Sudan University?
No, in Kamboni College of Science and Technology.
Yeah, Kamboni College, yeah.
Science and Technology, yeah. And then I worked there as well as a TA for about 2 years before moving to Juba. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. It's not to put you on the spot in that. Why do you think your voice matters? Why do so many people defer to you or listen to you or even get provoked by your things?
I guess most of my followers are, those who know me and know, my value when it's come to literary criticism, for an instance. And then mostly in whether in social critics or in literary criticism, I tend to apply certain approaches. I just don't criticize just for the sake of criticizing. That's why most of them just pay attention to what I said. And some of them, of course, get offended. Most of the time.
Not some of them, a lot of them actually at times.
Yeah, but then I have this tendency of, I have a thick skin, as they say, I will just keep, just speaking up my mind, and I don't pay much attention to the consequences and so on.
I mean, that's a very interesting perspective. When you were in Sudan, do you think a lot of people looked at you as a South Sudanese writer and South Sudanese critic, or just a critic? How did people read you?
Actually, there is a problem in Sudan. Most South Sudanese back then in Sudan, they will look at me proudly, that he is our son.
Yeah.
South Sudanese critics, writing for one of the leading newspapers in Sudan and so on. But then, when it's come to Northern Sudanese, I think there is what I can call as, a positive discrimination to some extent. You will be always given, the sense that you are not just a critic, you are a South Sudanese critic. Yes. Even when they introduce you to their friends and so on, they will not just say that, this is Yitjouk, our friend, and he's a literary critic. They will, this is Yitjouk, our Junubi friend, and he is a critic. So sometimes I feel that, mentioning Junubi, it is as, they are trying to reflect to their friends that, that he's not just a critic, he's a Junubi. They are trying just to reflect that, to show their friends, how long he can.
How long? Yeah. I think there is a sense of that. They're like, hey, you might look at him, but he's. Yes,
he's Junubi.
Are there people who read your things without knowing your name and thought you are a different person?
Yeah. I came across some, situations here in Juba. Where you will just find people just talking about me just next to me. They don't even know that this is Yitjouk sitting just next to them.
Yeah, and I think that
they just face difficulty to match my appearance with the things that I write and I publish and so on.
Yeah, I think a lot of people actually probably expect someone to be a different. I think one of the things probably really I'm impressed with the work that you do. You really transcend that, because when you came to Juba, you also set up the Renaissance Center. Maybe you can tell me about that. Look, what is that about?
Actually, starting with the name, I am very fond of Renaissance movements in history. Starting from the European Renaissance, coming to Harlem Renaissance in New York.
Yeah, in New York,
the
Harlem, yeah.
Yes, a movement of black writers who worked as much as possible through literary writings and so on to change the narrative on blacks and the way they preview themselves and so on. So when I moved here, first I worked for Al Mawqif newspaper for about 8 months, and then I found out that it just wasn't for me. That's why I think of coming out with the idea of establishing a cultural center and I give it the name Renaissance Cultural Center. Yeah.
And what does that do? What does the center do?
The center actually, what I started first was to establish a library where people can get free access to books, those who would love to read books. And then by the time I started to add some activities, we have the Renaissance Cinema, where we view films produced by South Sudanese, and then to give them a chance to interact directly with the audience. And the another thing was that the idea was just finding a platform for cultural activists so they can be there and conduct their activities and so on. For instance, we host Nyanya Arts, Kendall Cultural Association, about 4 or 5 cultural associations in Juba. They are running their activities there at the center.
I mean, it's very interesting to focus on culture because, I mean, we're at Seniors Hub. It's also one of the places that I have to say. I think, and I could be wrong, I feel like there is the value of thought and culture and thought and art movement has reduced so much. I don't know why, but our society seems to be very materialistic. It's like people are more concerned about other things that are materialist, touch and what less so than thought and reading, culture, and artistic movements.
Actually, most of us here tend to undermine, the impact of culture when it comes to development and so on. The idea behind establishing the center was not just, spreading the reading culture and engaging youth in cultural activities, but actually what I meant is that, I was just trying as much as possible to let the youth, especially around Juba here, know that cultural activism and participating in the cultural field is quite important as participating politically and socially and so on. This was the idea.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very, I find that to be like one of the kind of like the amazing. I remember even here when we started, even doing this podcast, people are like, why podcast? Like, why are you doing this? Like, I mean, people like, this is a war-torn, hunger, whatever thing. And I think probably one of the kind of like the push that we're kind of putting even with the Seniors Hub, with the Baobab or whatever thing is, it's really a push to say like, even in the midst of chaos, like the place for thought, the place for culture, the place of art is still very important.
It's still very important actually.
Because people can actually liberate themselves and think beyond their realities, even in this.
I guess we have a lot of crises here. One of them maybe I think there is somehow an identity crisis actually. I believe that some Junubin or most of us actually are going through sort of identity crisis. We came from different parts of the world back to South Sudan trying to rebuild the nation and so on. But at the same time, most of us are carrying different cultural aspects, influenced mainly by the countries they were raised in and so on. So I think that the only way to bring South Sudanese together on the table in their search for the common identity that's going to bring them together is going to be through cultural work, by focusing on the cultural similarities among our different tribes. And then we will try to come out with a unified culture if possible.
What will that culture look like?
I think it's going to be a mix. Some Arab culture elements, some African cultural elements in our own cultures as well. Yeah. It's going to be a mix most of the time. Because, cultures are dynamic. They will just
very dynamic.
And then at the end of the day, the result that is going to be a marriage is going to be different,
I mean, even right now here, when you see people talking, during lunch hour, lunch hour is the most definitive hour in terms of like people's cultures in South Sudan. Because people, during lunch hour, this is the only time people have to
sit together.
No, I mean like in terms of if you're sitting like your friends and what. When lunch hour comes, you'll know where someone is coming from by where they go and take lunch. People are going to take chapati, others are going to take fata, others are going to take dry. It's, I think we're really a melting pot of so many things.
Of course. But, things are changing. People are interacting now, and are getting to know each other better. I came across a Junubi working, he's a chapati dealer in Suksita. And his place is very crowded. I was very proud of it.
I mean, that is really, that is where you can say this guy is not just chapati dealer, he's a Junubi chapati dealer. We have a lot to kind of get through, but also I think like at times we're like, but also the culture thing is full of, I mean, I could be critical, but I think a lot of people, when people say like, I want to go back to my culture, to my root, I think people really don't know what they're saying about it. Even right now, when you look at the traditional marriages that they do and what, a lot of it is actually not Dinka culture. It's what do you see? It's like the best guess of what our culture used to be. I mean, that even happens with my culture. I mean, I think you can never get back to the roots.
Yes. As you mentioned earlier, that cultures are dynamic actually. What has happened is that just, you adapt some aspects of other cultures that you think that are positive. And then for instance, talking about Sholo, for instance, Sholo marriage back in the day used to be 3 days.
3 days?
3 days, yes. Mainly just in a square where people just will be dancing without even sitting, without chairs and so on. Now it is 2 days. The first day is the traditional dance, and the second day they will just bring, musical bands just to play and so on.
I mean,
even now you can hire dancers actually.
You can hire dancers?
Yes, to help you, reconnect with your past and so on.
It's a very. I mean the height of the contradiction and the beauty of it. I saw someone, they did a traditional dancing, they entered with a traditional song, and in the middle, they immediately started dancing to Diamond.
So it's a dynamic process actually.
I think it's a dynamic, and we might never get back to the root enough. Why do you think some of the cultures things survive and others did not? Like the dowry has really, it's not even survived, it intensified. I think probably some of the cultural elements survive because it has a materialistic, it has a utility value, mostly to men.
I think it has something to do with the nature and the structure of power in certain tribes in South Sudan here. Some South Sudanese tribes, for instance, there has a certain a structure of power with a centralized power actually.
Yeah, like the chief or
those who can actually make decisions on behalf of the entire tribe and so on. And unfortunately, this is absent in most of South Sudanese tribes, I guess. So most of the time, you will find that defining culture and defining, for instance, a bride price and so on is quite relevant, and even it differs from city to another, and from a social class to another as well.
It's a very. I mean, it is one of those topics that I find to be very. I mean, people are saying, oh, if it is not there, the society will collapse. I don't think the society will collapse if the bride price are not there or if they are not this expensive.
This is a disputable point, actually.
No, it is a disputable point. I will want to hear you.
This is a disputable point. There's just this idea is that when it comes to talking about bride price, at the end of the day, it's not going directly to the woman, for instance. Yes. It's going to the family. I don't know about. I don't want to talk about other tribes, but in Yitjouk, for instance, it is fixed. Just 10 cows. You are rich, you are poor. You just have to pay 10 cows, and sometimes even you can just pay the 5, and then you will pay the 5 later, which most people don't pay actually. And then actually some Yitjouk are still complaining that even 5 is still a high number. And then the justification is always that you are not paying those 5 cows because we are giving you a woman, for instance. You are paying them, as let us say, is that as a way of appreciating that your family are making a new reunion with another family. They are going in a reunion with another family. This is the idea.
Let me ask you about the Yitjouk culture or the Cholo culture.
Yeah.
Well, it is so beautiful. Like, why is the Yitjouk culture this beautiful? Like, it's. I mean, probably I'm speaking in a very simplistic way, but like, the food, the dress code, the lawa, the houses, everything about the Cholo culture communicates a level of organization and beauty that is admirable. I don't know what...
Actually, I'm not sure if I would be able to answer this. I'm not that Shuluk. I'm Shuluk.
You're Shuluk. You're not that Shuluk.
Yes, I'm Shuluk.
But like looking at it from at least a better proximity than me, like it seems, for me, it's very desirable, the culture. The dances, the suk-suk, everything.
I think, Shuluk have this pride that, we are not just a tribe, we are a kingdom. We are a kingdom. And then most of Shuluk, actually all Shuluk, including me, we have always the sense that, that our identity and our culture is at a threat. So we need, to reflect it in as much as possible wherever we are. We have idea, that our culture is under attack, from different cultures, and we need to preserve it and so on. I think this is what is keeping Shuluk culture intact for all these years, This sense that our culture is under attack, and, some people are trying to influence us and so on. And as you know, Shuluk fought with Funj kingdoms, fought with Al-Mahdiya and so on.
Yeah,
back in days. So there was this idea, Shuluk are always in a mood of cultural resistance.
Always trying to...
Yes, to resist the influence of other cultures and to reflect themselves even in a bold way. This is what happens.
And like in the context of South Sudan, I see...
For instance, nowadays, 25th of April every year is marked in Shuluk calendar now as International Lao Day. I don't know where people come out with this.
And it's a kind of marking...
So if you notice, just a week ago, I think, all the timeline on Facebook, people wearing Lao. They call it the...
I mean, it wouldn't take long for you to notice somebody.
And actually, we are very proud even that, that the attire of Lao is now a national symbol.
It is. And I think even when you look across South Sudan, there are certain tribal things that really pushed to become a national thing. I mean, Kombolaham, for example. I think Kombolaham, which is an erroneous, which is totally useless name. I don't know what it means. It's basically... I mean, things like Kombolaham is not something for some Equatorian or whatever sub-tribe. It's become kind of a national thing. And you have a lot of things that kind of moves from the realm of the tribe and becomes...
Yes, and become national. And if you notice, this just happened, without even... No one forced them.
Yeah, no.
This just happened.
Yeah,
I
think no one forced them. When I lived in Kenya for quite some time, and in Kenya, I mean, when I look at the Maasai culture, it happened, but in the Maasai culture, I've always been critical of that. I feel like the Maasai culture, it happened in the most capitalistic takeover of a culture and making money of it. Everyone is making money from the Maasai culture, apart from the Maasai.
Like Chinese are making money of Shuluk culture now, producing the beads and Lao.
Yeah, in Kenya, you arrive at the airport, you see a Maasai man holding a spear, doing what? The whole branding of Kenya is built. The whole branding of Kenya is built around the Maasai thing. But also, when you look on the ground, like the Maasai land is being encroached on, modernization is taking over that.
Okay.
It's like I say that Kenya should pay the Maasai people some kind of royalty for using their culture.
I think this is starting to happen now here with the Mandari.
Yeah.
Yes. People are fond of Mandari land now, and they are retired and so on.
I mean, we went there. We are actually part of this problem because we went there and we dressed up in the morning. But like this, are you okay with the idea of people cashing in on a culture, even with the wrestling thing? If some people doing the wrestling for the culture and some people are making money out of it,
it's a positive thing. I think it's a positive thing. And then, for instance. The first time I went to Turkeka, I didn't know even that that as a Shuluk and Mandari we share some elements, some cultural elements. So I guess that trying as much as possible to hover around, know different cultures, and even admire the parts that are quite beautiful in them. It's a positive thing, I think, for South Sudanese to do. It's a positive thing.
Yeah, I think so. I think I am a bit like I'm a bit. Okay, I'm a bit of an outlier because even the idea of nationalism, I'm really not a big nationalist. Not in a, I think like there is a lot of things that are being sold to us that is based on lies, which is fine. A lot of nations are built on lies. Yeah, but like I think what should people get unified about? Like right now we are in we're to some extent a post-war society, post-war Khartoum. Like what should people be unified about?
I don't know. If we revisit the past, actually one of the books I'm working on right now, translated to Arabic, is a book by a British researcher. It was published first in 1960. The book's title is A History of Southern Sudan, from 1936 to 1836 to 1896, I think. It's covered about 60 years or something like this. In the book, I found out even that back in I think 200 years from now, South Sudanese used to work together, you know, to resist any
encroachment
from outside to their territory. Shilluk used to work together with Nuer to back up some elements from the Turk and so on. Here in Equatoria, the people of Western Equatoria used to work together with the Bari kingdoms here, or the Bari kings back then, to form a unified line also to fight and so on. So if we revisit our history, actually, we will find that the things that bring us together are more than things that separate us, actually.
But it's so very interesting whenever people talk about history of South Sudan, and that's the wrong thing that the war brought. People really think the history of South Sudan started from or they think it started from 1883 or from Anyanya 1.
1983.
Yeah. Why do you think that is? Yes, why is there some short-termism in thinking?
I think they do it intentionally. To have the privilege of just dominating the power for as long as possible and plunder national resources.
Because South Sudan predates the independence of Sudan, the history of South Sudan. Like it goes way before the independence.
I think that South Sudan is the only country that their history is much beautiful and better than their present. Back in 1955, I think, students in Torid used to march, despite most of them are coming from different cultural and ethnic background. They used to work together, demanding equal payment for an instance with Northern Sudanese. Yeah. Yes. This to happen right now, I think, is quite difficult.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be a revisionist or kind of nostalgic about the past, but even when you look at, when people talk about the secondary school by then, I mean, Loka, Rumbek,
yes.
And was there one in Malakal?
The one in Atar in Nil.
Yeah, when you talk about this, people are like, wow, by then we used to be so united all over the place and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, to some extent, yeah, South Sudan might have a very beautiful history, or people want to revisit it.
In 60s and 70s, I think.
Yeah.
Most part of this history are beautiful to some extent, but also talking about the past, I don't want to romanticize it to that extent, because back then, the challenges were just few, not as those days, and actually they didn't have a power. To have disputes over power and so on.
Because the power...
Yes, the power was dominated by Northerns, and then they were equal. All of them were marginalized. So, it was less likely for them to go into any confrontation. Not like nowadays.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at social media, has it brought us together? I mean, like, are we more similar than we are different?
No, actually, we have two timelines. We have the timeline of Kakumas and timeline of Katumas first. And then
we have subgroups.
Subgroups, and then within those, language category, and then we have tribes here. And it goes down.
And I think the idea of the tribes thing will not die soon.
Yeah, likely will not die soon.
I think it will not die soon. I also think it's different for different people.
Actually, I'm not quite concerned right now about tribalism in South Sudan and so on. What I think now is quite important is, as a Junubin, first we need, to overcome this linguistic division first.
Do you think it's that big?
It's that big, actually. It's that big. I will give you an example. For instance, during the tragic accident of the late Treshisi, there was nothing about it in the Arabic timeline. Actually, most of them don't even know who is
Treshisi.
Yeah. Even following the protests and the arrest and so on, they were totally ignorant about what is going on. Actually, I had to translate to Arabic the press release by Anna Taban and post them, trying to steer a discussion about it in the Arabic timeline.
But that is expected. That is not a function of disinterest or apathy or lack of empathy. There's a function of that, like, if my language of writing and consuming culture is Arabic, I tend to listen to Arabic music. I tend to have MBC2. I tend to listen to Bean Sport.
At the end of the day, most of them, even those who use Arabic in writing, Actually, they are able to read in English and to understand fully what is going on, but still they are just disinterested to, just to take part and to give their thoughts and opinions about it, because they believe that anything that is written in English, it doesn't concern them. So
but also like,
it's kind of a psychological disconnection.
But also, I think the people who consume things in English also have the same feeling, and probably more stronger.
Yeah, it's common. It's a common thing.
But can we be a multilingual country? I mean, the same way Switzerland or Canada is.
We can be a multilingual country, but what I'm just trying to let you see eye to eye with me is, the fact is that when it's come to this linguistic division, it's not just a matter of language. It's a matter of
culture. Yeah.
The culture, and even psychology at the same time.
Yeah.
Some people just, they are just disconnected from any content that is written in English. They think that, it doesn't concern them. And I think this is to some extent related to the educational system and the cultural system, and even the narratives by the media back then in Sudan, for those who studied in Arabic. There was this policy of, standing against anything that is English and yes, America and so on. Those
down USA.
They are infidels and so on, this created in most of the cartoons, sorry for using the terms, it created in their psyches, sort of just a resistance to anything in English.
Yeah, I mean, it's even when people learn English, when they cannot understand English, really, to be honest with you, it's mostly for economical reasons. I want to use it to get a job with an NGO or to do what. But why should I go and learn English to consume literature and do what while I can do it in my first language, which is Arabic?
Yeah.
I feel it's a very big hurdle. I tend to use English more than I use Arabic, though Arabic is kind of my...
Yeah.
I don't know, like at this stage...
The same thing. Actually, I don't feel comfortable when I speak in English. Yes. Yeah.
I'm telling you, I actually feel comfortable
I
speaking.
think you notice that I'm forcing it now.
Yeah.
Communicating this.
I mean, I feel comfortable speaking English because I find it, it's my language of professionalism. So like in IT and what, I find if I want to use Arabic, it's difficult for me. So I find English to be a better, I think it's a better vehicle for pop culture. If you want to understand like what is happening.
Yeah, it happens. Actually, the first time I moved to Juba, I was just by then able, for instance, to carry out a conversation for about maybe 2 or 3 hours just in Arabic without using a single English word. And now I cannot do this.
It becomes
happens just by the time you will just find, that using English just would just,
it kind of
help you just to say, to express your thoughts better.
Yeah, I mean, as we're kind of like winding up and stuff, we were like all over the place. In terms of kind of like writing controversial or provocative opinion, you are really on the line. You cross the line. Do you cross the line at times with your thoughts and your ideas?
It happens. Sometimes actually I write, when frustrated, And it happens that sometimes I write actually harsh articles, very harsh. And then I have this problem of when it's come to expressing myself, my priority then is just to express myself and express my opinion without, paying attention to the elements of the language I'm using, or whether it's going to be provocative to some genders or people, and so on.
Why do you think that is?
I get blocks on Facebook most of the time because some people think that sometimes I write in what they call as insensitive language. So I don't know what's the problem. For instance, when writing about this tribal issues and so on, yes, most people always will prefer you just
say tribe X.
To write without saying nothing.
Yes. I notice.
Yes, I simply cannot do that.
I notice it. I say I usually give this example and I say, Murle, this youth from Murle, I'm just picking Murle, but when tribe, this Murle youth cross the road or this Dinka youth cross the road, people don't say Dinka, say tribe X. I'm like, but like this youth, they're from Dinka and they cross the road. Yes. Like I'm just saying, like that's an example.
Actually, some of us think that that some problems can be just solved by ignoring them.
Yes. I think there is a lot of what I call sanitization. I don't know what is sanitization in Arabic. sanitization of the language. That is تنظيف بتاع اللغة يعني. People want to clean the language more so than clean societal issues. And I think.
Yes. I remember during the wrote few content on land grabbing and so on, and people were frustrated at me, start calling me names that I'm tribalist and so on. When actually you cannot address land grabbing issues without mentioning names of the tribes.
Yeah, I mean, and some of the issues are really related to it's related to deeper things.
Yeah.
But I think intellectuals are like the problem here, because intellectuals really, when you go to tea places, when you go to tea places and you find people speaking in vernacular, in their mother tongue, people actually speak very openly. It's not rightly, but they speak openly to each other.
Yeah.
But whenever you come to intellectual forums,
yes,
you might think, and people say,
use that, that wooden language,
And people say things like, all our problems have nothing to do with tribalism. I'm like, no.
Tribalism is the root cause of all of our problems.
Yeah, I'm saying like you're saying a nice thing,
Yeah.
You're saying a beautiful thing, you're saying something that can be written in a report, but you're not rooted in reality. You're not rooted in reality, and I think, I think honesty is not our best quality in this country. I think so. As citizens, we are not. I mean, people come and say like, "Hey, mushtagin," and even when they're not.
It's become a norm, actually.
Yeah.
Just like I love you.
Yeah. People say like, "Oh, I miss you," even when they don't. Like, it's
just a social norm. Social norm to sound polite and so on.
Yeah, and I think also that is getting into.
The problem is that when it's come to criticism, you cannot just try as much as possible to be polite. On the expense of of the criticism piece you are writing.
Yeah,
it's going to be quite challenging. Yes. Another difficulties I face also is translating the content written by others, and most of them also were found
because people think that is your opinion.
By the majority, yeah. So most of people will just. I don't know why, but the majority face difficulty just to know that I translated it to Arabic. They are not my opinions, and I should not even defend them.
but like a lot of time you get backlash because of translating content.
This is the problem.
But someone might make a claim that's saying like, why did you translate this exactly? Why didn't you not translate the other one?
Actually, because I believe they are true, but not to the extent of defending them. For instance, of being just exposed to danger because of translating to someone.
Like the first person, I don't know, I mean, my producers can go and research this later on. Like the first person who translated the Bible, the King James Bible, and the son, he was burnt alive when translating it, because people saw like this thing is supposed to remain. There's a time the Latin and Greek used to be the language of the more superior.
Yes, the sacred language.
Yes, now even until now, I think the Catholic Church still the Pope addresses people in Latin.
Perform some rituals in Latin.
Yeah. So I think translating the Bible into like English or what sounded like I don't know, is it desecrating or making the language more?
Yes, but at the same time, it spread the word.
Yeah, it spread the word. Yeah, I think
by translating here, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get everybody on board.
Yeah, but the translator is not.
Most of writers here use English.
Yeah, but the translator is not just an innocent pipe. The translator makes judgments.
Yeah, of course, judgments and comments, and even sometimes you will have even to adapt what you are translating to be culturally appropriate. For instance, this is what I do. For instance, when I translated the paper wrote by Karl Berger. Karl Berger, yes. Just following, posted just the first 2,000 words. The situation was terrible out there. Phone calls and
And just for context, she wrote something. It's called what is the title of her paper?
Something as
ethnical.
Ethnocide as a tool of nation building or something like this. Ethnocide as a tool of.
And the paper is a bit controversial.
Yes, it is a controversial. Actually, that I thought instead of just keeping the discussion just in around English reader circles, why not translate it to Arabic to expand the discussion and so on. And then I realized that I was wrong. Just the first part of it, and then backlash, intimidation, and so on. That's why I stopped it.
You stopped translating it, huh?
Yeah, stopped translating.
Or at least posting it.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
Yeah.
Do you have a lot of your work that is not in the public consumption right now?
Yeah, I have about 2 books that haven't been published yet. 2 books. One of them is a novel, actually, and then an autobiography of Dr. Peter Adwok. I already translated it. I'm now waiting for its publication.
You translated something for him before. This is not the first time.
Yeah. The first time, the first book I translated for him was published first in English in 2019, I think. 2019 in Tanzania. So this is the second one.
What is your relationship with him?
Maybe because
he has his fair share of controversial opinions.
Yes, he's very controversial, and then both of us are former members of the Sudanese Communist Party.
Both of you?
Yeah.
I'll be very interested. Maybe you can just say the name of the book so that people can, the one that has already been translated.
The originally, the title is South Sudan Endless Wars, Elites, Ethnicity in the Stunted State. I translated to Arabic, جنوب السودان والحروب الدائمة النخبة الإثنية والدولة المعطوبة.
So and I think you also have so many other translated content.
Yes, I translated a book about Dr. Garang. Garang Al-Insan, the person of Garang, written by Woda Jeremiah. I translated a novel, Mercy Left to God, by Gabriel Tokuch.
Before I end, as I'm ending, I think my team was really doing my case. There is this writer, what is his name? This Sudanese writer, this Jibal Nuba writer, what is his name?
Abdulaziz Barakasakin.
Abdulaziz, is it the guy who talks about Al-Hamish or Center? What is his name?
No, Abakar Adam Ismail.
Yes, Abakar Adam Ismail. Yes. I am a fan. There is no YouTube video that I haven't watched for him. Yes. And there is a time he came here to Willow's house.
Actually, currently he's in Juba.
He's in Juba right now?
He's in Juba right now, yeah.
Okay, can you put me in touch with him?
Yep, no problem.
Please, after this, I will want to host him here.
Okay, no problem.
He talks about the center and the marginalization.
The marginalization in Sudan.
Yeah.
Yes. His theory is that the marginalization in Sudan by then was ethnic. It was based on ethnic marginalization, actually. That that the least privileged in Sudan are mainly Africans. And then the Africans who are Muslim are to some extent better than African who.
So there is a hierarchy of
yes, hierarchy of marginalization.
I mean,
itself.
I looked into a lot of his writing.
He's a great novelist as well.
Yeah. He's a great novelist. He's political.
He has about 4 novels, I think.
Yeah.
Now he started translating for most of the Pan-African books to Arabic as well. Yes, he translated about 4 books up to now.
I will just want to have 2 more minutes. One, who is your most influential kind of African literature or book?
It's Taban Loliong. The Last Word. It was first published, I think, in 1986.
Yeah.
Yes, I have a copy of it.
So you think his writing has really impacted you?
Yeah, he's impacted me very well because Taban is outspoken,
Yeah, he's outspoken. I have a video with him that I couldn't publish because he just went on everyone.
Style, He's a master. He's a master of his style when it comes to writing. That's why he's considered now as one of the best 5 article writers in the world.
In the world.
In the world.
What about globally in terms of even recent or?
Globally, I prefer South America writers. Yes. His name is Borges. A novelist as well and a political activist.
Sorry, I read.
So they are, writing style, shape, the way I write. And so.
I read a lot to James Baldwin, The Fine Next Time, and Giovanni's. So I feel like his writing really shaped.
Okay.
Even futuristic things that we are now realizing.
Yeah.
Do you see? Is there a literary generation that will come?
Yeah, I think so.
Will they be in the lights of Taban Loliong, or do you think it will be different?
I don't think they will be in the light of Taban Loliong because Taban Loliong school is now outdated to some extent. But there are some good emerging writers actually. There's some good emerging.
What about the vloggers, the TikToks, and all? Do you think these people have a place in shaping culture?
Actually, I don't believe so.
You don't believe so?
I don't believe so at all.
What makes you think so?
I don't know, but I don't want to judge them, but I think that most of their contents are shallow.
Huh.
They're not that deep, maybe.
So you don't. So like right now, you don't think like our next phase of culture is will be shaped by blogs, stuff like that. Don't you think this? Okay, probably I'm pushing this as a leading question, but don't you think like this kind of content now have a place? This in the same way
Actually,
as books have.
they have a place, and to some extent, of course, they are going to shape the future to some extent. But the problem is that in a country like ours here, where literacy rates are quite high, the impact they are going to make is not that huge. For instance, as of those using the traditional mediums of spreading culture and so on.
I think it will be thing. What about like someone like Amira? She has an audience.
Amira, you are serious? You are bringing here Amira as an example?
No, because I'm thinking like she has a voice, and that voice a lot of people listen to.
Yeah.
Probably more so than they read books.
Actually, most of Amira followers actually are Sudanese.
Yeah.
Yes, they laugh at there.
Yeah, they laugh at that. I'm trying to tell you like in terms of like people who shape culture, is that like, and probably they say things that the intellectuals might not be interested in, but the masses are. And you see the same with Lady Caller also.
Yeah.
Lady Caller, you find people at the border station on the border where Sherikat, those people listen to her. And
yes, this is something I think it has something to do with this theory of cultural relativism. It happens that the pop culture, the common one, is always the ones that leads.
Yeah.
And this is what's happening right now. But actually, I hope that most of the vloggers and so on, they will try as much as possible, to work on their content, to put much effort before posting them online. Because actually, they are now influencing the upcoming generations, the teenagers.
I think they are, and probably, I think the center of culture has shifted.
Yes.
The center of what is.
Yes, from the sophisticated intelligentsia circles to now anyone can post any content online
and
without any censorship.
Yeah, no, without any censorship. But also that, and that's why the story of Kurajing became like that. People like that moved from some whatever rumor story
to the extent of recording songs.
Not to the extent of recording, but to the extent of changing language. People like, I will Kurajing you.
Kurajing you, so coining new terms.
Yeah, coining. but Yitjouk, I want to make the case that probably we should pay more attention to this.
We should pay more attention to it, and at the same time, actually, I think that the vloggers themselves, they need just to put more effort on what they are doing. To
put more effort in kind of like understanding.
I think to trying as much as possible to refine their content. Some content are totally rubbish.
No, they're totally rubbish. Yes, but I also think
but there's some good contents.
But it's just, I think some things just end up becoming.
I'm one of Charity followers on YouTube.
She's good. She's a cultural phenomenon and kind of defining that. Just because he's talking about Charity Naji, who's the creative director for this podcast. She has an awesome YouTube channel. I think we went over beyond time, but they'll chop it up later. I think a lot of the things that are being done right now are going to shape historical, cultural, because some of the things really move from it being just a story into being a mythical narrative that people believe in, and then now, irrespective of its origin, now people are not. That's why when Dinkas talk about, not Dinkas, people talk about Cholmong.
Yes, Cholmong and so on.
I mean, someone who eats.
Who eats a lot and so.
But then people are now not interested in the story of Cholmong, but they're interested in whatever that Cholmong represents.
I think such narratives are quite important. Whether ontological narratives and so on, they are quite important because through them you get the sense of that that you belong to a bigger community and so on. The same story of Cholmong is there in most of the Nilotic tribes. Yes, with different names and so on. Different names.
And I think so. As we have Lotole. Lotole means like
fox. Salep.
Lotole is what? Arnab?
Salep.
Lotole is a rabbit. it's a hare, yeah.
Hare? Okay.
Yeah. So, but Lotole now, it's moved from that being a hare to it's just like being reproduced into multiple narrative, and now even describing people characteristics.
Okay.
And stuff like that. And also, I think a lot of the things that are happening right now will also shape that. Yeah, that's why when someone says like, I mean, when someone talks about some political figures in this country, they don't talk about them in a sense of their personality, but now they talk about them as what they represent.
Yes, there is some kind of, in literature we call it impersification. Something attributing animal characters, for instance, to human or the vice versa, and so on, used to talk about people. And then, the culture of fear also is spreading nowadays. People will be just talking about politicians using signs.
Yes. I mean, even in the tweets, even in the tweets, I mean, it's a culture of fear, but also it's a way of people adopting to different things. I mean, some people even talk about other people by using the heart emoji, and then like everyone understands who that is. Or people using a different thing. I mean, I remember.
Or abbreviations, actually.
Yeah, or abbreviation. Or someone says Abu Falaja, you're like, when someone says Abu Falaja, you know exactly who. You know exactly whom we're talking about. I think cultures just adopt to different ways, and probably this is the mainstream. This is what lead now.
There is this idea among the Shilluk that when you say I am going to meet the prof, that you are talking about Adwet Nyaba.
Yeah, but
if you say I'm going to meet a doctor, you are going to Lamoko.
To Lamoko. Yes. Yeah, but also that's the same thing when someone says Comrade Chairman.
So even if you have 2 PhDs or 3,
that is not a
doctor will still Lamoko.
I mean, when someone says Comrade Chairman, you know exactly whom we're talking about. You don't need to be told who is the comrade and who is the chairman. Someone says Comrade Chairman, you know.
So certain titles are now exclusively inherited by some people.
Inherited and meant for some. And even when someone talks about PhDs, politicians, you know exactly whom they're talking about. Because I think people just adopted to these things.
Yes, to some extent, people are adopted. People are adopting.
Yeah. Yitjouk, it was nice having you here. This is really about nothing and about everything. But you're going to look me up with what's his name? Abakar Adam Ismail. You said he's in Juba?
He's in Juba.
How much convincing will it take for me to have him on my podcast?
By a new podcast?
Do I need to convince him a lot?
No.
He's not into public appearances?
I don't think so.
What about me meeting him?
Actually, then you will just have to let him know that what you are going to talk about and discuss.
Okay.
Because if you're asking, for instance, about his opinions about South Sudan, he's not going to.
No, but not like that about South Sudan. But I want to about his writing.
Just if you assure him that that the conversation is going to revolve about his writing and so on.
No, that's fine. I don't think I'm interested in his opinions on. Not I'm interested. I don't think that is the subject of that. Yeah. Okay, that will be cool.
He was in Kampala, now in Juba. He's heading to Manataq al-Muharrara to Kauda for 2 or 3 days. But I will try to.
Okay, please. I think we should catch up this. Yeah. Thank you so much for showing up, man. I will want to do another recording in Juba in Arabic. Because I know that one will have a better reach than this. Given your. Yeah. Okay, folks, it's a wrap.